Hi, I'm Jenny. This is my channel, Designs with Paper. Thanks so much for stopping by. I have a quick card video for you today, so I hope you enjoy. So my quick card project tonight will be using this penny black cling stamp called Woodland Getaway, and I will be stamping that on cream colored cardstock inside my Misty stamp positioner. I am going to go ahead and take that black foam pad out because it is a red rubber cling stamp and I don't need it in there tonight. I am using multiple colors of inks and sponge daubers or finger daubers to ink up this stamp. Traditionally, this style of penny black stamp is meant to be used with a water-based marker and a little bit of water to give you that watercolor look. And I will do that at some point in time. This is the first time I have used this stamp, and I wanted to see how it would look, how it would turn out using just the finger daubers. It is a different look. It does give it not a smooth stamped image, but I do like how it turned out overall. It's a really cool stamp and a pretty picture. So here I have the stamp in my Misty, and I'm going to start with the road part of this stamp. And I have a Stampin' Up! Brown. I think it's crumb cake. I don't remember. I didn't write that part down. And I will just take this little sponge dauber here, the finger dauber, and ink up that road area. And just go back and forth until I feel like I've got all of the road really well inked up. If you had the little ink cubes, you could probably use those instead of the finger daubers, but I wanted to use my Stampin' Up! Ink tonight. So the next color I will be using is this dark blue, and it will be for the mountain range that is the back layer of this stamp. And I'm just going to take this ink right along that back layer. When you're looking at the stamp in real life, you can see the details and the markings on the stamp, so it's easy to know where you should ink and where you should stop. The next layer down on this stamp is a layer of trees that are pushed back in the background, so I will ink those up with a lighter green. And again, I'm just taking that sponge dauber, that finger dauber, and going back and forth across that layer until it is sufficiently inked up. And I am going into the blue just a little bit. It will help it blend better on the cardstock. So now I'm going to go ahead and smash that down on there. I do grab my microfiber cloth so that my hand will slide a little easier over the lid of that Misty tool, just for a better impression. The third and last layer, or fourth and last layer, is the trees in the foreground. So I will be inking those up with a darker green just for definition. The things you see first are going to be more defined, more colorful, and the things that are pushed back toward the mountain range would then become a lighter color. After I've got these layers all stamped on there, I am going back and forth with a couple of the colors again, just to kind of blend in the lines and make sure that it's a smooth transition between the greens and then the light green and the blue for the mountain range. And it is a different kind of a look when you're using finger daubers on these red rubber stamps. And there is something about red rubber stamps, they just always give you the best stamped impression. Now I have this stitched slimline die set. I got it off Amazon quite a while ago, and I don't use it very often because the measurements are kind of wonky. They're like longer and skinnier than I feel like it should be for a slimline card. So I decided I'm going to use it for a mini slimline card, and I will just line that left side up with the die and take it off to my left hand side and cut it, send it through my die cutter, and then bring the die back in and line it up on that other end and cut it off. Because it is a stitch die, the stitching lines line up pretty easily, and it does give it that stitch effect, but it's not a great sized die set. It's just really odd. I decided I did not like how that sky behind the mountains was cream because I used the cream cardstock. So I have grabbed my ink blending brush and a light blue ink, and I will just go ahead and fill that in just a little bit at a time. I don't want to go in really heavy-handed because I don't want this to be, well, hello, the sky is right here. I want it to be just a little bit more subtle. I don't want it to fight for control of the focal point on the card. Once I have that sky inked in, I decided that the road looked a little bit bare too, which at this point I really should have just used white cardstock instead of cream cardstock, because now I'm covering up the cream cardstock. And I did forget to tap my brush off a little bit here, and I got a bit of a splotch on the middle of the road there. But in the end, I don't feel like that's a terrible thing. When you're going down these well-worn paths, the center is a little bit taller, and therefore it would be a little darker. So now I've grabbed a piece of dark green cardstock, and I will be cutting it to 7 inches wide by 6.5 inches tall. And I will put that in my scoreboard with the 7-inch side at the top and score it at 3.5 inches. So then we have a 6.5 by 3.5 inch card base. And again, it is a mini slimline and it is a top folding card base. And it's really important to use your bone folder when you're scoring cardstock, especially when you're scoring against the grain. And here you can see that that die just did not quite cut that stamped image. I don't know. I'm trying to decide, do I want to center it and have large margins on the top and the bottom? And then I decided I would just make this a smaller mini slimline card. I had based the card base size on a regular letter-sized envelope. So yeah, I just trimmed the bottom off. No big deal. It'll still fit into that envelope. There'll be a lot of room. And then I decided, well, heck, whatever. It's all good. I'm going to go ahead and put the white copy paper on the inside so that I have a place to write a message to whoever I send this card to. Just an interesting fact, you guys, my YouTube channel has been up for a year now. I can't believe it's been a whole year. Anyway, I've pulled out a sentiment stamp set. It's an old one that I've kept around because I really like the fonts. And this is a stamp that I had actually done stamp surgery on and cut apart. But I thought it would be a perfect a perfect card to use the full sentiment on. And the sentiment reads, "Always thinking of you." And I had kind of cut that "always" word off to use on a different card many years ago. So I will go ahead and trim this. I stamped it on that same cream colored cardstock, and I'm using my guillotine trimmer here to trim it off. Usually I use my Fiskars trimmer when I'm doing really small pieces like this, but I need new blades for my Fiskars trimmer, and I'm trying to decide if I really want to go ahead and get a new blade for it, or if I want to just learn how to use my guillotine trimmer for small things. There's a little bit of fuzz on that paper, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Didn't cut real straight, I guess. I have a piece of light blue cardstock here that I'm going to mount that sentiment strip to, and then I will go ahead and trim that down. And I did pull my Fiskars trimmer out and way off screen, sorry about that. And it does need a new blade. The edges of the cardstock were a little bit fuzzy, and I did have to go through and kind of clean the edges off a little bit. So now that I have that sentiment ready, I will pop it up with a little bit of foam tape on the back there and decide, do I want this right in the middle, down on the road? Where am I going to put this? And I did decide to put it down there in the bottom left-hand corner. So there we have this really neat-looking scene all done with one stamp. I decided that I would go ahead and use my 1-2-3 punch board to make an envelope that might better fit this card. Turns out it's the same size as the one that the white one that I got from, the big, huge box of envelopes from Walmart or Amazon or something. But anyway, it's going to look prettier. I have this piece of pattern paper. It's a thick chevron in a kind of a teal green color. And I thought, yeah, that'd be a cute envelope for this card, so why not? And I really like this punch board, but I do kind of have I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it when it comes to slimline and mini slimline cards because I feel like the flaps are really long over the top and the bottom. But that's an easy fix. And this way you can get coordinating envelopes for your cards and, you know, find a way to use all of that paper that I've been hoarding for years and years and years and years. You know, I need to stop hoarding and start using my pretty pattern paper. So here I have the envelope all cut and scored, and I will fold in those side flaps and the bottom flap, and I will pull out a really strong adhesive. I'm using a double-sided tape, and I will put a little piece on each of those side flaps. You need to be careful not to put it on the bottom flap you fold up. At least don't put it all the way to the top, or you will glue your or tape your envelope shut. I've done that before because I just was not thinking clearly about where to put my tape. Anyway, so now I've got the liner peeled off of that tape and I can fold that envelope up. And yeah, it didn't turn out to be any smaller than a regular envelope, but whatever. It's all good. It was fun. And this whole process, the unedited footage was like 40 minutes. So it didn't really take very long to ink up this stamp or to create the envelope at all. So here's a few photos, hopefully close-ups, that you can see how the inking works out. Thanks so much for stopping by and have a great day.